I'll ask you to introduce yourselves and your outlet. We'll start with Reuters, first row, please. If you could perhaps come forward with the mics, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin Nimmet from Reuters, Secretary General over here. Were there any calls in the room today to do more than just the 4 battalions and what you've just explained? And also, what more are you doing for Romania and Bulgaria? Thank you very much.
All allies expressed great satisfaction with the decisions we made today. And I think we have to understand that the decisions we made today about enhanced forward presence, about the 4 battalions, they are decisions that we take under or after a very thorough analysis of the needs. And our assessment that is that under the current circumstances, based on our military analysis and the military advice we have received, that this is an appropriate posture and presence in the eastern part of the alliance. I think also it is important to underline that the enhanced forward presence with the 4 battalions is an important element, but only one element of what we are doing. Forward presence is one thing, but the ability to reinforce, to deploy forces if needed, is another very important element of what we have been doing actually since our last summit. So as I stated, we have tripled the size of NATO response force. We have established a new spearhead force. We will have more pre-positioned equipment, supplies, more infrastructure, more exercises, more headquarters, more planning, and many other elements, for instance, intelligence, early warning, surveillance, and so on. So forward presence is important, but the ability to reinforce if needed is also important. And let me add that the forward presence is also important because it is a multinational forward presence, sending a very clear message about deterrence. An attack on one ally will trigger the response from the whole alliance.
Poland radio, second row.
Wojciech Cegielski, Polish Radio Secretary General, you mentioned that countries have stressed and contributed their soldiers into the battalion, apart from frame nations. Could you elaborate what kind of promises they made, the countries, on their soldiers being sent to one of 4 battalions?
I would say that practically all the nations made announcements to contribute in different ways. We have, of course, the 4 lead nations or framework nations, Canada, United States, Germany, and United Kingdom. Then we have the 4 host nations, which will provide host nation support. And then we have all the other nations, which will provide support in different ways. Partly, of course, to the enhanced forward presence, but also provide support to our enhanced ability to reinforce the WJTF, or the spearhead force, and the NATO response force. So this is an effort which all allies contribute to, and very many of the allies also made new announcements or announcements in the meeting today to contribute in different ways.
Lady over there, second row, third row.
Alina Koshik, Bielsa TV, Belarus. General Secretary, Belarus question was discussed during the meeting today?
Sorry?
Belarus question was discussed today, and why Belarus delegation were not invited?
Well, this meeting is a meeting with the 28 NATO allies and Montenegro, which is very close to become a NATO ally. We have signed the accession treaty, and when that accession protocol is ratified in all the 28 allies, then Montenegro will become a member. So this was a meeting for NATO allies. Belarus is a country in a neighboring country of several NATO, of NATO countries. The important thing for us is to underline that the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of all allies, of all countries in Europe, is respected, and that also, of course, applies for Belarus.
Gentleman over there, second row.
Thank you very much. Neeme Raud, Estonian television. As Estonian officials have described to me, this is a new reality. This is not an operation, this deployment. How long do you think it will last? There is no end. It's open-ended commitment.
It's an open-ended commitment, and it will last as long as necessary. So we haven't any date where we have said that this will end. And it is a new reality, because we didn't have that kind of presence in the eastern part of the alliance before. So this is something new. It's groundbreaking. It's based on very thorough military analysis. And what we do is actually what we were advised to do based on the military advice we have received. And I would also like to underline that no one in NATO really discussed or addressed the possibility of this kind of forward presence of NATO forces in the eastern part of the alliance before Ukraine. So this is a defensive, proportionate response to the actions of Russia in Ukraine, illegally annexing Crimea.
Rihanna Roskin? No. Gentleman over there. Yeah, thanks.
Vladimir Dobrovolsky, Russian News Agency, NATO Secretary General. You just said that you want to discuss the measures taken today with Russia next week. And are you going to discuss as well the possibility to scale them back? And is it possible to scale them back, and under what conditions? Thank you.
I strongly believe in transparency, in predictability, to avoid escalating the situation and increasing tensions. Therefore, NATO has been transparent and predictable all the way. And one of the reasons why we believe that the NATO-Russia Council is important, and why the NATO-Russia Council was established as an all-weather forum, to be used also when tensions are high and the situation is a bit difficult, is exactly for this reason. So dialogue is always important, but it is especially important now. And therefore we will, as I said, use the Council to inform, update Russia on our decisions, because we are transparent, we have nothing to hide, and we will tell them to avoid misunderstandings, to avoid miscalculations, and to what should I say, contribute to transparency. I will not speculate on how long it will be necessary to have this kind of forward presence. What we have seen is Russia, which has invested heavily in modern defense capabilities over many years, which has modernized its forces, its equipment, and has used military force against a sovereign nation in Europe, violating Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty. And that's the reason why we have increased our presence in the eastern part of the alliance.
We'll go to the front row, Romanian media.
Cristian Înteanu, Adevărul Romania. Secretary General, please, the problem of the presence, naval presence in the Black Sea was discussed today, and how to strengthen the security for the countries around the Black Sea, first question. And second question, can you elaborate on the presence of this new multinational brigade in Romania? Thank you.
First of all, NATO has already increased our presence in the Black Sea region in the southeastern part of our alliance. Both with air policing assurance measures in the Black Sea, but also in Turkey. With AWACS planes and defensive missile defense systems. So we have already increased our presence. Second, we agreed today what we call tailored forward presence in the southeast, and that is based on a Romanian-Bulgarian brigade, and that will provide a framework for extensive training of NATO forces, so it will be a multinational presence under this Romanian-Bulgarian brigade, and will then have more forces, more training taking place in the southeastern part of the alliance. Moreover, we also decided to ask our military planners to provide advice for our defense ministers in October to look into whether we can or how we can increase our presence not on land, because that will be provided with the brigade, but in the air and at sea. And several of the nations addressed the need for an enhanced presence at sea and in the air, but we will be more concrete about that at our defense ministerial meeting in October.
Okay. The gentleman in the front row here, in the middle. Thanks.
Yeah, Santiago de la Bresilla with the Observer in Warsaw. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. I have a question on Finnish and Swedish membership of NATO. Do you really think that it is possible to secure the Baltic Sea in the case of a crisis without these two countries being members of the alliance?
We have a very close partnership with Sweden and Finland, and we are developing that partnership. Sweden and Finland, the Swedish Prime Minister and the Finnish President will be present at our dinner tonight. We are exercising together with them. Sweden and Finland are participating in NATO operations, NATO missions, so we are enhancing and stepping up our cooperation with them, both in the Baltic region, but also in different NATO operations and missions. I will refrain from giving advice to Finns and Swedes on whether they should join NATO or not. Partly because I'm Secretary General in NATO and I will not be dragged into a debate in Sweden about whether Sweden should join NATO, and also because I'm a Norwegian. I know that the Swedes, they will, what should I say, I know that I will not give them advice.
Okay. Gentleman in the front row again.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Secretary General, after visit to Finland, Russian President have addressed Russian military Minister of Defense to work out the plan to ease the tension at the Baltic Sea and to make all the fighter jets to fly with the transponders on. So will it be an issue at Russian NATO Council next week, and is NATO ready to respond the same way? Thank you.
I welcome what seems to be an increased interest from the Russian side to address transparency, risk reduction, and air safety in the Baltic region. So I welcome that, and we also listen to the Finnish President tonight, where he can report and tell about his discussions with President Putin. We have only seen press reports, so it's a bit early to comment on the specifics, on the details, but we hope that we can have proposals on the table and that we can discuss them more in detail when we see concrete proposals. NATO has been advocating for measures enhancing air safety for a long time. One of the issues we discussed at our last meeting of the NATO-Russia Council in April was exactly the need for predictability, mechanisms for risk reduction, air safety. And hopefully we can also then discuss this at the NATO-Russia Council next week.
Thank you very much. That's all we have time for now, because the fly past is soon approaching, but the Secretary General will be back tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.